everyone, and a warm welcome to the session 2 of the Europe and Central Asia KICS Knowledge Café. My name is Janyl Bokonbaeva, and I'm KICS Europe and Central Asia Knowledge Lead. Today, we are here together with our colleagues from the CEDOS, a Kyiv-based think tank, presenting key findings from their desk research report on education systems resilience in the region of the Caucasus, the Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. Now, a year ago, the same project also had coverage in our first session of the Knowledge Café here in KICS, when the project was just starting, and we are happy to congratulate our CEDOS colleagues with the great job they have done during the last months. Today, we are going to have Mrs. Tatiana Zhagobkina, Senior Policy Analyst and Project Manager at CEDOS, with 10 years of experience in education policy research, presenting. She is joined by her colleagues, Olga Satsuk, who is an expert in housing policy and social cohesion, and also a project manager at CEDOS. Olena Nikulina is an expert on Ukrainian education policy. Welcome, colleagues. Now, this is an informal format. This is a cafe. Feel free to grab your coffee or tea. In case of questions, feel free to put them in the chat according to the format already presented. However, if you feel you need to comment something or ask a question directly, please raise your hand using the button, and we will make sure you're given the floor. Now, if any questions don't get answered today due to time limits, please rest assured that colleagues from CEDOS will do their best to answer them when you try to contact them via email. Translation is available, as it was said, due to our wonderful interpreters, Victoria and Richard. And without much ado, let me just say that this will be a presentation first, followed by an open questions, feedback, and comments round. Now, without taking too much time from my colleagues from CEDOS, the floor is yours, Tatiana, Olena, and Olga.
Thank you very much, colleagues. It's so exciting to be here with you all, with representatives of so many countries. So let me start sharing. So now you can see, I hope so. Yep. Okay. So today we want to share key findings, not to overwhelm you with all details, because we have quite a huge report, and to start conversation about what we have learned in this process. First of all, we will tell a couple of key insights, and after we will propose to provide a feedback and to have a little discussion regarding the topic. So a couple of words about the CEDOS. We are independent think tank and urban bureau. So we work in Ukraine for more than 10 years, and we work with different topics as well as education policy. And our approach is based on research. That's why the most sphere of our activities is doing this research in order to provide valuable recommendations and to discover the problems that exist and may be addressed. So what exactly did we do? As one of 6 observatories implementing this project, our goal was to understand and document how countries in our region understand the concept of education system resilience and how it reflected in our policies and practices in our region, in all countries. So, like a first step for this aim, it was exploratory desk review when we provided analysis of publicly available documents for last 10 years. It was and it covered 8 countries of our region. So mostly we worked with educational strategical documents, strategical plans, and some articles, international reports. and so on. And to provide this step, we we were focused on a framework developed by the GPA KICS Education System Resilience with 5 components. So just to put one comment here, this study doesn't compare or it doesn't rank countries, and we didn't evaluate policy effectiveness. We describe and map some practices and understanding of this term. So before we dive in, I would like to ask a quick question for you who are here. Like, do you know about an equivalent term for resilience in your language? Or any synonym maybe, and what does it mean? We ask you to think about this a little bit, maybe 30 seconds or so, and to provide your answers in the chat in order to see what do we have now and whether we have the same or absolutely different understanding of this interesting term. I have finally found the chat so I can observe what is happening here. By the way, my colleagues, I can ask you to share our findings about our country. What another another equivalent do we have for our country? Yeah. Yeah, and if you have this equivalent, you can just add small comment whether it sounds like resilience or it's something slightly different. Patience. It's interesting. So I see another synonyms here. Okay, so I encourage you to add these answers, and I will go to the next slide. It will be interesting to check in the end of the presentation what do we have here. So let's start with a simple but quite important observation from this desk research. Education system resilience is a concept that's still finding its footing in the region. So it's like in the process of developing. So here for this study, we defined this concept as intentional system-wide efforts to sustain education against a widening spectrum of different disruptions through anticipating risks, through adapting in real time, and building the capacities needed to protect learning before the next shock arrives. And here one of the findings, the main findings, that this term, the word resilience, is not so often, we didn't find a lot in the different educational strategy documents of our region, but the practices exist everywhere. So whether this concept is not so common, not so spread, we have a lot of practices that we can name as education system resilience. And also for our region, and maybe it's not specific for only our observatory, but for other as well, resilience tends to be framed through crisis management, and it used to describe like threats and challenges which our systems face. So another insight and that education system resilience is mostly reactive for our region. And what do we mean here? For our like our countries operating under quite extraordinary pressure. We do not face some isolated shocks. All different disasters, challenges, they intersect in each other. So we live in a polycrisis, we can say. And here we can talk about natural disasters and climate change about armed conflicts and war, and of course, well known for all countries and even out of our region, it's a COVID-19 pandemic. So this is like a baseline, and unfortunately, we can name it like a normal that we used to live context in which our education systems are expected to function and to provide a lot of services. So regarding this reactiveness of education system resilience, we can say that we have focused on system strengthening, on planning and responding to shocks and disruptions when such disruptions occur. But what receives less attention and far and less resources, it's anticipation, like scanning for risks before it happens, and also lack of like running any scenarios exercises, investing in early warning systems specifically for education, and of course, like one of these of explanations here, it's lack of resources. Of course, because budgets are focused mostly on current issues, current challenges which we have, and it's like less attention and less resources for predicting future crises. Here I will pass the floor to my colleague Olena.
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here with you today and talk about our study. In the course of our study, we also noticed and dedicated special focus to the children in vulnerable social situations and how polycrisis in the countries of the region affects them. And we see that it's quite expected they hit first and hardest. Can we see the next slide, please? Thank you. We see that often these children, they are mostly affected. Their access to education is constrained by polycrisis, and often their vulnerabilities are overlapping in these countries. We have seen that there are groups that are most common in different countries of this region. For instance, these are students from rural, remote areas, nomadic communities. That's very common in most countries of the regions. Children from rural and remote areas, as well as nomadic communities children, such as in Mongolia, they show lower educational outcomes and they are more vulnerable to any disruptions in learning. But also students with disabilities, students from low-income households, internally displaced and refugee children, and also ethnic and language minorities. These children, they are not only affected by polycrisis most, but they also often suffer from the lack of resources that the system has and distributes among different learners while solving the crisis. We have noticed a lot of great examples of interventions focused specifically at vulnerable children in the countries, such as ZUT Emergency Education Response Program in Mongolia. This program helps children from nomadic communities and other vulnerable groups children to access education in harsh weather conditions. That's model school networks in Moldova, learning centers, and courses for children from ethnic groups in Georgia, and also expanding internet access in Kyrgyzstan mountain regions. We can proceed to the... Yeah, and also we see that in general, not only focused on vulnerable children, countries in the regions have good examples of resilience practices of different programs in the education sector that help to solve crises and maintain learning in difficult circumstances. So in this slide, we showed another few examples of good resilience practices in the countries of the region, such as weather stations in mountain schools and emergency preparedness training in Uzbekistan, and a huge program for building back schools safer after the earthquake in Albania, and exceptional programs for building digital learning and implementing different online learning tools and solutions in Mongolia, such as Medal platform. In Ukraine as well, digital solutions for learning that were developed during COVID-19 helped to sustain educational process during the full-scale war and to start again the educational process in a short time after the war started in 2022. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Elena. Yeah, so here it's like one of another maybe obvious finding, I would say, that previous crisis can support in the future one. So it's like when the system address the challenges that existed or which we face, it may to provide us like chance to suffer less from the future challenges. And here, of course, we have found a lot of good practices, good example of how education system resilience looks and practicing in our region. Even for the start of this project, we we understood that our region is quite different, with a different context, with some different challenges, but still we have a lot of similarities. And to make this presentation short, of course, about a couple of words about next for the region. It's like regarding the key findings from this stage, because it's only first step in our project, now we are collecting primary data through the key informant interviews. Like we can just underline a couple of priorities. Like one is budgeting for anticipation, because risk scanning and early warning into it could be like routine for planning, because now it's mostly seen in a process of disaster risk reduction. And also it's important, and what our project and project of our other colleagues from other observatories do is scaling what works. And it's so important to collect all this good experience, good practices, and to share this knowledge with each other. And of course, it's important to design for the vulnerable groups first, in order not to left them behind. Yeah, and it's like just a couple of insights, couple of words from our side. It seems like it was the last slide for now. You may have seen the link for the report, so we will be glad if you read this report and if you will share it or provide any feedback for us regarding this report. We believe such dissemination of such knowledge will be important for all of us. And because of we have the next step now with collecting primary data, we also will be happy to collaborate with you So if you would like to talk to us, and you can share contacts here or after this meeting, and we will be glad to talk with you about your experience of your country or your sphere. And for now, it's always presentation, but about some interactive part. Let me find out what to do with all this sharing and links. 1 second. Where is the button? What to do? Here, if you joined on laptop, you may scan this QR code and join Mentimeter, where we will ask you to provide a small feedback, any thoughts, maybe something resonates with you about this couple of slides we have talked about. We will be happy if you will provide your feedback here, but also we'll be glad to hear you. So if you have anything to say, you may just up your hand and to share your feedback about everything you just heard. Because for me, it seems like we have talked only a couple of minutes and you didn't hear a lot. But still, it's like 4 main insights, and we will be happy to discuss with you. So we have 2 questions. The first one is feedback, and the next one we will be propose you to have a little discussion regarding the education system resilience. Before this meeting, I had a class with the students, so it's couple kind of similar situation. If anybody has comments or questions here. And by the way, if it's needed to provide a link, maybe for this Mentimeter, if this QR code doesn't work for you, you can text about this in chat, and we will share the link.
Tatiana, if I may.
Sure.
I think when you asked for various interpretations and meanings of the English term resilience in the beginning, I think we received a lot of beautiful answers, and all of them were gorgeous. But what stuck with me was a message from Bhutan, which said resilience in our language is translated as ngar, which means not just tolerance to the hardships, to whatever comes your way, but also the ability to fight back. And I guess it's beautiful because it emphasizes the positive part of it, not just being in the stress, living under stress, but also being able and capable of actively, as you said, not proactively, but actively undertake measures needed to counteract whatever comes in terms of crises, wars, conflicts, whatever. So yes, I do encourage you, dear participants, maybe to speak up, to raise your hand, and to voice your comments or feedback or questions. Okay, there's a question from Samia Nas. What are the key factors that continue to hinder educational resilience despite the measures taken? Would you like to answer that, Tatiana? What are the key factors? It's a message in the chat. What are the key factors that continue to hinder educational resilience despite the measures taken?
As I understand this question correctly, so we have provided just a couple of main group of challenges, but of course there are a lot of other factors like more specific for each country that is based on, I don't know, geographical location, for example, or based on previous historical even context, because for all of countries of our region with different like we were dedicated to Soviet Union, so it still hits quite a lot what we have now, and it's about modernization of standards of programs, for example, of in general educational contexts. Yeah, so it's like just couple of cases, but even the full-scale invasion, it's not the risk and challenge only for Ukraine, for example. It hits in a different way other countries of region. For example, in the reports, we also mention a lot that a lot of displaced people from Ukraine, they live, for example, in Moldova, in other neighboring countries. So that's why they need to change a little bit their internal policies to address this issue, to support children, teenagers. So it's like another issue. But if anyone of my colleagues would like to add something here, you may do that.
Yeah, I can also add that from our view, and of course we have to say here that we conducted this desk review, and while we have an amazing people who work as our consultants in these different countries of the regions, we were still not able to deeply engage with each country, each topic, and each educational system as much as we would like to. So from our review, what we also saw is that sometimes, even despite good policies designed and implemented to build resilience, they cannot be fulfilled to their full potential due to lack of coordination among actors in the country. We saw it in different countries in the region, and also due to lack of resources for long-term sustainment of these policies.
Thank you, Olena. Just before we give the floor to Sofia Gorgodze, who wants to speak up, there is a very good question from Trine Peterson from GPE. How would you suggest can the key findings of this kind of research report be most effectively communicated and discussed with governments and ministries of education to support concrete and specific policy action? Would you please be willing to dwell on that?
Yeah, sure. It seems like another question, for a huge discussion. Because regarding the lack of resources, we understand that it even may not be like one of the priorities to talk about this, but what we do now, we collecting interviews with representatives of different stakeholder groups, as well as with the support of our best colleagues from countries of the region. So we conduct these key informant interviews as well as with government officials, independent researchers, representatives of academia, NGOs, in general civil societies, in order to hear their thoughts regarding this topic and about their understanding and their examples of good practices in this sector they work. And also, even through these interviews, we share this idea of thinking about the concept of education system resilience, because even from the first interviews with representatives of different stakeholder groups, we heard a lot that they haven't maybe thought a lot about this about this concept, but it seems like very important to start to work with this, to think about this, and to share some knowledge. So one of approaches is to talk directly with like engaging them to this research. Also, we have different like webinars, like meetings like this. And we will be sharing this knowledge with the different formats, not only reports, but also blogs, for example, and articles in the countries, because we know and understand, unfortunately, often we do not have enough time to read a full report. That's why we will combine this format to share this knowledge. Yeah. So it's the answer for this. So Janyl, maybe ask Sofa or
Yeah, Sofia Gorgodze wanted to speak up. Would you, Yasmina, would you please unmute her microphone? This is Sofia Gorgodze, who wanted to speak up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have this general observation about this resilience. I think that the countries which have less developed education systems usually have problems with resilience. For me, the education system which is of higher quality is more resilient. But countries that have like day-to-day problems with conflict, refugees, access, enrollment, inequities, all of these problems are so big that countries don't plan for being resilient because they're always reacting to something. So my observation is that somehow resilient education system equals highly developed, well-developed education system. And in this regard, we don't even have the real word for resilience, even though I typed in what we use for this word, but it doesn't exactly show this meaning, because in Georgian we use the word sustainability for resilience, because we use this word for both to mark sustainability as well as resilience, which is not exactly the same. So this is again, I kind of said that we do have the word, but we actually don't, because this is not a part of the policy dialogue, not at all. And but to somehow solve this problem and to work on these issues, I think that in each country we should identify what are those problems that we are expecting, which ones are which one will have the biggest impact on our education system, and start from there. Because if you want to look at every aspect of resilience, I mean, it's impossible, particularly for the countries that do not have enough budget, always struggle with basic educational opportunities for students. So somehow my idea is that we should identify in each country what is the biggest threat that might be coming in the future, and first focus on that, because of course it's ideal if we just take a comprehensive approach and focus on all aspects of resilience. But this is we may start doing it, but then we will know that we will not achieve the outcome. So I would say that we'd better, I'm in my country in this case, stay realistic and somehow small steps forward. I hope I made my ideas clear. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful input. Exactly. Developing education systems face a lot of challenges, and that's what it actually is all about. Tatiana and Olena, I think you have also great things on the board that you shared. Would you like, in the meantime, to share a couple of them with us?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you all for this feedback and comments you have provided here. I saw a couple of questions as well. It seems like or no, or maybe I just so it seems like we have good feedback here. It seems like thank you for your thanks here. And it shows that, yes, the lessons from COVID allow us to apply practices in times of emergency, like the remote learning. So it's still like one of the important experience for all of us. And I see that we do not have a lot of time for this session, but may I ask the second question here? It's the same approach. You can type your answer here, or you can just say it if you want. So the question here: what is one thing for your country as about a recent crisis that you would want others in the region to learn from? Here for us, like, one of the most expected answer is a response to the COVID, of course. But maybe you may provide another example you would like to share. You can type this using this QR code, or you have these lines if you joined before. But if you do not want to type, you can add this comment right now by voice. Because, sorry, it seems I can stop talking. It's like, our main activity for now to collect all these examples and to synthesize all this experience in order to share this knowledge after and try to understand what is specific for our region comparing to other countries, to other region, because still we have unique experience.
Mari Vicliano contributes during the COVID pandemic, parents were actively involved in ensuring that children continue their education. And I think it's great by the way of social emotional learning and also in terms of ethnopedagogy, especially here in Kyrgyzstan. Recently, when Russian Federation has introduced stricter rules on the level of Russian language knowledge for migrant children, Kyrgyzstan launched an online school, which is an official public school issuing official certificates and conducting an official curriculum, everything online, available in 2 languages, also in Kyrgyz and in Russian, featuring all the subjects that a regular school has. And for me, this is a great example on how a country responds to challenges. Ukrainian teachers are doing tremendous work to continue study process for pupils who are both in Ukraine and abroad due to Russian full-scale aggression. So this is also a study process which goes on, and the resilience and the efforts of ordinary teachers who are behind that. In the Philippines, whenever we have some crisis, be it man-made or natural, where coming to school is not feasible, we immediately shift to remote learning using modules or online classes. Moldova showed how community volunteers and local authorities can work together to support vulnerable people with food, medicine, and essential services. Yeah, community engagement, wonderful. In Indonesia, we did curriculum transformation. One of them was revised the school curriculum. Yeah. But also in which terms? That would be also lovely to hear, in what aspects and according to which criteria curriculum was reformed also. Yeah. There is also an input on Egypt. Would Tatiana or Lena read it out loud? Because this is very,
Yes,
very
sure.
small font.
Yeah, I just happy that we have examples from out of region. Even Egypt demonstrated the importance of digital transformation during crisis, especially by ensuring continuity of education through online platforms and flexible assessment systems. And that's interesting that we have absolutely a huge amount of formats for online platforms for continuing study, and building new schools ready for the possible crisis, underground schools for war-torn regions, earthquake prone facilities. Yeah, for Albania, we have the region has a good example because of that experience, how educational facilities are modernizing after the earthquake that happened 6 years ago, and online learning, construction of underground schools. It's again about underground schools, conduct and training of actions of children and school staff in case of air raid warning. And now in Kyiv we have air alarm now as well. So I see that we are running out of time. For now, I would like to thank you all that you joined and that you provided a lot of feedbacks. It's very valuable for us. So our next steps is, as I said before, is collecting primary data with different examples of practices of educational system resilience in order to collect all this knowledge and all this experience. So if you have anything to share, we will be glad if you will just write your contact information and we will contact you. If you will have any other comments or question, we will be glad to answer. I believe that we will share our contacts after this meeting, but also you may see this on our slide. Janyl, I give a floor to you. Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, I think it's been a wonderful session. Just before we close and before we talk a little bit about our post-event survey, just one question from Trina, which I think is very good because people are supporting it heartfeltly. It would be interesting to consider also resilience for slower onset crises, such as climate change. You know, something that unravels slowly. You don't see the impact immediately, but nevertheless, the impact and the threat are huge. Which I have observed is increasingly an issue in some Central Asian countries. And maybe someone from Central Asia. I think we do have people from Central Asia here, at least I see people from Tajikistan, from Uzbekistan, also from Kyrgyzstan. I've seen them join. If anyone wants to answer or maybe consider that for our future discussions, research, and cooperation, I think that would be great. But if you, Tatiana, or Elena, or Olfa want to have a couple of words on slower onset crises, that would be lovely as well.
Yes, we actually dedicated part of our report to this topic, and we see that mostly countries in the region, they work on long-term solutions, such as mainly in the realm of education and training. They do education and training of teachers, so they can teach children about climate change and all of the and also they implement these changes into school curricula. More sort of infrastructure changes can also be observed, for instance, rebuilding schools, strengthening schools, developing new standards for educational facilities, buildings, and so on. that's what we saw. We are sure that there might be more solutions and interesting programs and policies in development, but also on the implementation in these countries. And if anyone here knows, it would be great if you could reach out and send us some materials to look into. We would be very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. I thank you, Olena, Olga, and Tatiana for a wonderful presentation. I thank all the participants for their great questions and comments, and also looks like people have appreciated the event very much. Now, I would welcome all of you, and I would encourage all of you to fill out the post-event survey. The link is in the chat. Also, Olga has kindly provided a link to the full report, and I encourage you all to read it because it is wonderfully written. Now, I don't think this is an end to our discussions and exchanges. I think this will go on, and I encourage participants to spread the word, to share the report, and to write back to our colleagues from CEDAS with more feedback, materials, comments, and maybe even cooperation proposals. Thank you to all of my colleagues who have made this possible today. We will have more cafes coming on various topics and from different regions. Thank you all for your wonderful participation, and I hope to see you next time in our knowledge cafes, webinars, learning cycles, and all the events that Kicks Em Up conducts with your participation and support. Bye-bye.